Welcome to The Forgetting Curve, a compilation of childhood memories. This week, our memories are focusing on holidays. Childhood holidays are a unique experience. For some, it's getting on a plane and flying to Disneyland. For others, it's simply packing a tent and heading into the woods. Whether it's big or small, these adventures create memories that will never be forgotten. Our first story today is about a school trip to Wales and how things are seen through the eyes of a child.
Because I came from a pretty poor background in the centre of Liverpool, holidays weren't exactly the sort of things we did every year. I can remember the first holiday I went on with my parents, but before I got that was when I was 13. But before that, the first holiday I ever went on was on a school trip. And Liverpool City Council had long since recognised that the children of the inner city weren't getting to see the greenery and the countryside and various things. And they had purchased a sort of outdoor centre in North Wales in a place called Colamendy. And all the schools were allowed to take their charges there for, I think it was a week, not sure. Seemed like forever. It was so cold and so wet and so bleh. I hated every second of it. So although it was really exciting getting on the bus and going with all your friends, and we went on this great big double-decker bus, nothing exciting or posh. We all traipsed off to Colamendy, and I thought we were on the bus for maybe hours and hours and hours. In reality, looking back on it, it's only about an hour and a half away. So, anyway, it's in North Wales, and a very pretty place if you look back on it now, but at the time I thought it was hideous. And it's mountains and hills, and the accommodation was sort of dormitories with bunk beds in them, and a canteen, and some sort of outdoorsy stuff. And I don't think you can compare it to the sort of outdoorsy activities that people do now, with flying foxes and, building a raft and all that sort of stuff. It was basically walking and maybe a bit of sort of exercises and activities, but nothing too exciting, really. Anyway, so we went. I was sick on the bus, which I always am, so that wasn't very pleasant. I didn't get to be on the top bunk, which upset me. I'd only met all of these children maybe about 3 months earlier because I'd changed schools, so I didn't really have like a best mate or anything like that. They did things like hopping us up early, and we had to have showers, but the showers were rubbish and cold, and it rained all week. And then they said we had to climb up Mole Famu, which is, I thought it was a mountain. Clearly isn't. It's only about 500 metres high, but I thought it was just enormously high. And when I say climb, it was really a steep walk. But again, from Liverpool, it's where I lived was flat. I lived in the city. I didn't understand all of this mountain green stuff. So anyway, we were carted up the mountain. We didn't have the right sort of waterproof clothing on or anything like that, or decent boots or anything like that. And we all came back totally and completely exhausted. And I can remember we were treated to afternoon tea in the canteen with rock cakes and tea, a pot of tea, great big pot of tea, maybe 5 litres of tea on the table, and all these rock cakes which lived up to their name because they were so hard you couldn't actually eat them. So we put all the rock cakes into the teapot and turned it into mush, and we were all carted out of the canteen at the teacher and gave us such a telling off, which of course we thought was absolutely hilarious. So all in all, an interesting first holiday, but nevertheless, I guess it wasn't Liverpool, and it was somewhere different.
Most children don't need a holiday to escape the pressures of everyday life. But having an adventure in a new environment is always a rewarding experience. Being taken out of your comfort zone and exposed to new challenges can help us learn about who we are. Our next story is about a holiday experience that took camping off the agenda.
I remember going down to Rosebud or somewhere like that for holidays, but we had a tent and we had to, and a little tiny Austin A30, and I had to sleep in the back seat. And I remember thinking, now you wouldn't do it. You would never leave your children.
No.
Sleeping in the car beside, and it was probably would have been about a 6x8 tent, I think, because that was kind of the. I remember that it was white and had a green roof, but I had to sleep in the Austin because I was the smallest person and I could curl up on the back seat. I hated going to Rosebud because I hate sand. I hate sitting on it. I hate it between my toes. The whole thing's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's one thing I won't do is go camping. We only ever went camping once when I was a kid, and my mother swore she would never ever go camping with me again.
Why?
They got a two-man tent for my two sisters and a single one for me, and I get claustrophobia quite severely. So they sent me off to bed in the tent, and I got into the tent and I closed the flap. And I went. About half an hour later, I'm sitting in the tent screaming my lungs out because I couldn't work out how to open the flap. I couldn't get out. Mum said, "There's no way, no, and I'll go camping with her again." She said, "Put her in the caravan. She's going to be just as bad. It's a small space."
Caravans are not so bad. I always thought caravans were kind of cute and interesting and designed in an interesting way, but tents are just horrible. I mean, at least caravans have got hot water and things, but I remember camping with in my other life, and we went to Yarrawonga because they went there every year, and they camped in a tent and they had no hot water, and they stayed for a fortnight. I don't remember what we did for showers. There was probably a shower block, but the thing that got me was that after we'd cooked tea, she would just wash the dishes in cold water. And I remember we had sausages or something that was greasy.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember, there was no such thing as paper towel. And what do you do with the greasy plate? Yeah, no, that was horrible. That put me off camping forever, I reckon.
Yeah, I've always been off camping because of that one and only experience. And anybody says camping, I go, no, I don't do camping.
We used to camp, actually, friends of Mum's they used to camp every year. They went down to Barwon Heads and they had a permanent site, so permanent that they had a picket fence, they had lawn where they parked the caravan, they had lawn, they had an annex, huge timber annex, and it had a picket fence around their house, it was like a house. They'd go in, I suppose, November, and they wouldn't come home till February or perhaps after Easter, and it was just like a house, so everything happened perfectly normally, except that there was no bathroom and you had to go up and have a shower, and that's when you used to put sixpence in to get hot water.
Yeah.
To get sixpence, and that was enough to have a shower with.
Do that now, would you?
No, but I remember having to wait until I was old enough to go on my own, because you couldn't send me with the sixpence because I was too short to reach the place where you put the sixpence in. So you had to go with your mother, who put the sixpence in and then disappeared out the door, and made sure that you didn't get your clothes wet that you were going to put on from the shower water and all that stupid stuff.
That's it for this episode of The Forgetting Curve, but there's plenty more to come. If you want to keep up with the latest releases from The Forgetting Curve, then follow @Forgetting Curve on Twitter or find us on Facebook. Subscribe to our feed in iTunes or listen to our latest episode on forgettingcurvepodcast.tumblr.com. If you think you have a story to tell, then get in touch with us. We're always on the hunt for more captivating tales of childhood. Thank you for listening to The Forgetting Curve. Next time we're going to revisit holidays, and we're going to hear from a young immigrant girl who had a rather unique experience.
And then, I don't know where they found it, but they came back with something like 10 gallons of fresh milk. And he said, "We're going to make cheese."
You have been listening to an Ursa Minor audio podcast.